the list at number 10, the Insectithopter. Great, now I gotta be paranoid that the government is spying on me through bugs. Sick. The Insectithopter is a dragonfly-looking robot. It was created back in the 70s, long before we were filming bowling alley videos with drones. This was a huge step in technology, believe it or not, but they unfortunately can never figure out how to beat those crosswinds. This Insectithopter is currently on display at the Washington International Spy Museum. Its flight range was around 650 feet, which isn't bad at all considering how long ago this tiny tech really took flight. It could only stay in the air for about a minute, and then at that point it was just a hidden camera that looked like a dragonfly, perched anywhere you felt like. That audio video could be fed back to a short distance to, you know, a spy hiding in a nearby bush or something. If you're thinking, this sounds pretty practical, was this used often? Well, we don't really know, that's the best part of it. The dragonfly was also gas powered, so there was excess gas shooting out of this thing's ass. Yeah, I would notice this thing for sure. Number 9, catfish. I mentioned the Insectithopter, so obviously I have to mention the CIA's robot catfish. It's so specific for one job. Obviously this is not going to be used that often. What's the deal here? Okay, Charlie, yes of course it has a name, isn't like the rest of the fish in school. He's actually an undercover agent working for the CIA. This was the 90s when the CIA was trying to collect water samples in secret. So they would send Charlie Chaplips upstream by using wireless communications. And that's it. He didn't like shoot lasers at people or anything. He was just a cool looking fish. He was busy, he had a job. He clocked in, clocked out, he's a family man. The inside of the catfish was chock full of high-tech 90s submarine tech. There's a pressure hull, a ballast system, the whole thing all stuffed inside this 60 centimeter long catfish. Sometimes secret tech is cool, sometimes it's literally just this. It doesn't even look like a fish. Like they could have painted this definitely some more before they put it in the final drafts. Imagine this thing being the main device in a James Bond movie. How dumb would that be? Imagine he used this in the climax of Spectre. I'd see it again right away. Number 8, lightning. It's pretty difficult to catch lightning unless you're a witch or Ben Franklin. I'd say just don't attempt it. Can you believe at one point lightning was actually being stored as this secret weapon? Like it was a project? Lightning was a project for a weapon. Yeah, I guess Thor works for the CIA now. That's neat. Back in the late 60s, these scientists who remain anonymous, great, that's a good sign, can't imagine why, Thor I guess, they were determined to weaponize lightning. That way there was little to no evidence left over. The idea, as crazy as it sounds, is actually pretty genius. It never made it to its final stages, we think, but that's kind of a good thing. When Forbes released these declassified CIA files, we got a better idea of what was going on in the sky at that point. The plan was to drop these extremely thin metal wires from planes or rockets, so they would drop a metal fishing line basically through clouds while there was a storm going on. This sounds like a Looney Tunes heist. This sounds insane, but I think it may have worked. Sending that many volts of electricity down to an enemy camp, that would for sure mess up their communications if it worked. If. Number 7, secret iPod. Remember listening to your iPod Nano on the bus way back in the day? Your friend was sharing one headphone and then an embarrassing song came on and you're like, oh shit, that's just my sister's, sorry, we all share, LimeWire. Music is personal. Spotify is almost too personal, some would say. But have you heard of Apple's top secret iPod? Yeah, you can listen to Bruno Mars while you search for smuggled uranium. Finally, it's about damn time. Best of both worlds. Back in 2005, former Apple software engineer David Shayer, the tech giant, they partnered up with the US Department of Energy. This special iPod was designed to test radiation on the go without drawing any attention from the public. Imagine this thing in an Apple commercial, just dancing silhouettes, having a good time, and then one guy's like, huh. Number 6, off-road vehicles. Where we're going, we don't need roads. All right, we're living in a pretty amazing time when it comes to space exploration. I'll clear that up real quick. Later this month, we're sending deep space telescopes off planet to see even more of our universe. 2020 was also the year where UFOs were just on the news, so that's neat, I guess. But what happens when these two worlds collide? Figuratively speaking, of course. Last March, an astrophysicist by the name of Eric Davis, he gave this classified briefing to the Defense Department mentioning these off-world vehicles. Okay, so you're thinking off-world vehicles, yeah, the ISS is technically one of those off-world vehicles. Spaceships aren't new there, bucko, good try. Well, he added the fact that these off-world vehicles were being made somewhere else, not on Earth. See, former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid is quoted in the Times article saying that he believes that crashes of objects of unknown origin may have occurred and that any recovered materials should be studied. Should, big word there. Eric Davis also once produced this report to try and convince the government to invest in time travel and use wormholes to achieve such a thing. So this guy knows some shit, for sure. He said he actually has studied these crashed materials himself, and his conclusion is that there's no way humans could have ever created any of these things. What do you think? Do you think we're studying crashed alien ships, or is this just a bunch of bogus? Let us know down below, you believers or non-believers. I'm genuinely curious. Is this a thing? Number 5. Welcome to the Himalayas. This is a pretty wild theory as to why the ice caps are really melting in the Himalayas. I'm not sure you're ready for this one, so buckle in. Many moons ago, the United States and India worked together on this joint mission that ideally could allow them to keep track of China's nuclear development projects. They did so by installing these radioactive sensors in the Himalayas. They used isotope Pu-238 powered sensors, but when the weather got crazy, the team was of course forced to leave the Himalayas for a bit, and then upon arrival back to the site to finish setting up, all the radioactive materials were just gone. Suddenly, someone had taken them. Locals still believe that the reason the mountain caps are melting today is because of these plutonium devices still lost somewhere in the region. I panic when I lose my phone, let alone plutonium. We gotta figure this one out. Number 4. Military dolphins. Yes, I said military dolphins. We're gonna get weird at this point in the list. Iran has plenty of nuclear capabilities, but they also have trained dolphins now too, so good game, folks. Back in 2000, Iran bought this fleet of trained dolphins from Russia. Just Russians doing Russia things, you know? But they were trained supposedly by the Soviet Union to attack ships. And yes, of course, even people. They'll just headbutt their shit. We have Navy SEALs, and now we have military dolphins. Is this Aquaman 2? Feels like Aquaman 2. What's going on here? Well, recently, and I mean 2018 recently, satellite photos revealed a Russian naval base in Syria with pens that are commonly used for holding, you guessed it, dolphins. Yeah, Russia and the US have a fleet of trained dolphins to detect mines, but now Iran is in the mix too. Just dolphins everywhere. It's like military. Are we running out of dolphins? What's going on? The war on dolphins has to end. Number 3, private island. After watching the Fire Festival documentary, I'm never going to any cool island ever, period. Either dinosaurs will be there or Ja Rule. Either way, it's gonna be a bad time, it sounds like. Niihau, Hawaii, the smallest inhabited island, looks like a paradise from above, but we'll never know what it's like down there. Absolutely no tourists are allowed, no outsiders are allowed at all. It was sold by Hawaii's King Kamehameha back in 1863 to the Robinson family, but as of 1915, no outsiders were allowed in. There's about 130 people there now who are currently living without plumbing, without telephone lines, running water, all that good stuff. Even today, the island is still off bounds. What do you think they're hiding there? I mean, the Coast Guard is always patrolling the island too, so there's definitely something that we're missing. What do you guys think? Let us know before. Let us know before? Let us know before! I don't know, before something happens. Number 2, Berlin bust. Queen Nefertiti, aka the lost queen of Egypt, she had a pretty wild ride, especially when Germans came into the picture. Perhaps one of the most popular ancient sculptures of all time was found on December 6, 1913. German archaeologist Ludwig Borchardt found this bust of the lost queen on the floor of the Royal Sculptures Workshop. Now this figure has some unforgettable details. I mean, first of all, she's breathtaking. The blue, she looks like literal treasure. It was clear that this was the Queen Nefertiti right from the start. The German team split everything when they found it. They split it with the Egyptian government, so currently this bust is being held in Berlin. It draws in about 50,000 visitors a year to Berlin's Neues Museum. A little piece of Egypt all the way over there. Now, a fun little fact about the bust, back in 2009 there were scans done to it and it's revealed that underneath the painted layer is limestone carving of a woman. So detailed that you can see the wrinkles in her cheeks. There's even a bump on the nose. That's how good it is. Back in 2016, these two artists secretly 3D scanned the bust of the lost queen, and then they straight up released the files online like a free download. The future is here, I guess. That's a little invasive, but we'll take it. And finally, number 1, the Black Tomb. Back in 2018, remains were found by archaeologists. They found this massive black granite sarcophagus in Alexandria, and it hadn't been touched in over 2,000 years. So we decided to open it. Just cuz. They opened it and found 3 skeletons. Nice. 3, all for the price of 1. Oh, I'm gonna throw up. They also found this brown, reddish sewage water inside. You know, I don't wanna explain it. You know, half of them were expecting gold of some sorts, and then they opened it and they're like, oh, come on. They opened it 2 inches and the smell was so foul, everybody ran away. They couldn't even breathe. They needed gas masks just to go back and take a peek. What a red flag. 9 feet long and 5 feet wide, it was just a big granite bathtub full of bones and goop. But there were also 3 inscriptions, so we did find some cool stuff, not just stuff. These drawings on these small sheets of gold. One resembles a seed pod of an opium poppy inside of a shrine of some sorts. The other is a snake, an unhooded snake, usually connected to the goddess Isis, which is interesting because that same god is the one that Cleopatra had embodied this whole time. She would try and make herself look fancy to resemble that god. The last one is a palm branch or corn. Experts believe that it's related to themes of fertility and rebirth. Mustafa Waziri, Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Antiques, said in response to locals freaking out that, they opened this thing, they said, "Thank God the world has not fallen into darkness. I was the first guy to put my whole head inside the sarcophagus, and here I stand before you, and I'm fine." Awesome, good to hear. What year was that? 2018. Oh. Kicking off the list at number 10, the discovery of penicillin. Sometimes miracles happen when nobody is looking. That's the key. Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin back in 1928. At the time, he was actually studying staphylococcus, which is a bacteria that causes infections and boils and all that nasty stuff. But right before Alexander left for a 2-week vacation, he left a petri dish with some of that staphylococcus behind. He left it on the lab table rather than stored away in an incubator. Now, during his well-needed time off, a penicillium mold spore just drifted in there magically, either through the window, up the lab stairwell, some Horton Hears a Who type commute, and the temperature of the room and lack of one Alexander Fleming allowed for the mold to fight back, furthermore preventing that bacteria from growing. He literally changed the world. He discovered this antibacterial substance, and it was only produced by the strains of penicillium. Thank you, or else we'd be a little uncomfortable. Number 9, mass extinction. Are we part of the 6th extinction? Is it happening right now all around us? Most likely. We lose thousands of species each year, and when looking in the past, asteroids and ice ages, sure, they have all something to do with massive extinction level events, of course, but after humans invented the wheel and then discovered fire, things started to change. We kind of caused a lot of bad stuff. In the 1800s, industrialization drove up extinction rates and continues to do so. According to Elizabeth Colbert, across the world, scientists every day are monitoring what could be the largest extinction event since the dinosaurs. That's us, since the dinosaurs. It's like dinosaurs, T-Rex, and then us, equally as bad. What do you know? Arms are a bit longer now, but still, we're up to no good. The way human beings interact with the environment and affect biodiversity could be more deadly than an asteroid hitting the Earth. That's pretty eye-opening. With an ever-climbing list of endangered species, Colbert and the world asked one question. Is it too late to change it? Are we screwed? Most likely, but we can do our best at this point. Okay, let's move on to something a bit lighter so we don't feel like complete trash. Sounds good, let's do it. Number 8, monkey business. Okay, this study done back in 2016, I had to include it because in a list of unsettling things, this definitely fits. This is the most unsettling thing I've ever heard in my life. And yeah, that includes finding out you're part of a mass extinction level event. This one's right beside it. You ever see Planet of the Apes? The voice acting, the motion capture, Andy Serkis, he kills it. All those dots on his face, really good. The voice, nails it. It's like Caesar, it's very deep. I can't even do it. If I did, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be doing Planet of the Apes movies. Well, it turns out in real life, they would sound even scarier than that. Research done back in 2016 showed that macaques have a vocal tract capable of speaking. The lucky thing is they just don't have the brain power to do so, or else they would sound like this. Will you marry me? Didn't hear it? Let's hear it again. Will you marry me? Will you marry me? That's the scariest thing. Imagine a macaque saying that to you. I would politely say, no thank you. I'd be like, no, I'm good, man, thanks. Also, your voice is so deep. Is that laryngitis? What's that? Some vitamins. I was doing fine before I heard this, so I had to bring you down with me. You're welcome. Hit that thumbs up, and also, will you marry me? Number 7, human sacrifice. Archaeology is fascinating, but the digger we deep into the earth, the more we find out about our past. Most of the time, that's not so fun. Our past is pretty shady. Usually these findings are horrible. Not too long ago, we found the remains of a 3,000-year-old skeleton in Greece. They found the skeleton on the side of Mount Lycaon, which historians know as the site of animal sacrifice for Zeus. Ancient writers mention this site and how human sacrifice was also at play, and thanks to technology, we can now confirm that this is indeed the case, sadly. The upper part of the skull was missing, and the body was laid on 2 lines of stones, so it wasn't accidental. There were even stones laid on their pelvis, so something was going on. We look at Greece, of course, as the birthplace of philosophy, democracy, and 100-meter hurdles, and, the 100-meter dash, all the Olympic stuff, that's great. But they also did some sacrificial, shady shit in their off time when they weren't slamming some Merlot. Science has allowed us to take a look all over the world as well, not just Greece. Ancient Egyptians, Aztecs, sometimes after Mayan ball games, sometimes the losing team would just be sacrificed. Yeah, good game, good game, good game, good game. Are we getting sacrificed? No, okay, good. Good game, good game, good game. Everyone talks about how awful humans are now. No, we were pretty bad always, even before we knew how to speak words or what the sun was or what the moon was. We're like, you know what? I don't know what any of this is, but all I do know is that we gotta kill each other. Number 6, whale cancer. The big C, oddly enough, doesn't affect big fish. What do you know? Well, we do know that the risk of cancer increases as you age, but the amount of cells that you have surely has something to do with it, right? So large animals like whales, obviously they have a few more cells laying around. They're a bit husky, they're a bit bigger. You would think that the odds of whales getting cancer would increase, but the reality of it is that whales and dolphins are way less susceptible to cancer than us humans. We still have no idea why. Maybe it's because whales sing a lot? I don't know, maybe if we sing to each other instead of talking and killing, we can maybe beat cancer. I don't know. Worth a shot. Let's just start singing like whales. That's how we'll communicate from now on. We'll just go, and then someone else will be like, good, thank you. Number 5, MK Ultra. This one always gives me the chills. Many of you have probably heard of this at some point, but if not, well, buckle up. MK Ultra was a secret CIA project that lasted from 1953 to 1973, where they ran hundreds of experiments to US citizens without them knowing, and they gave them LSD, narcotics, anything in attempts to crack mind control, or as they called it, information gathering. It's like when Apple's like, yeah, we're just gonna gather some info real quick when we talk to Facebook, we're just gonna gather some information. They're spying, definitely. It's bad shit. In the 50s and 60s, around the Cold War, the United States believed that the Soviets, Chinese, and or the North Korean agents were using mind control. I mean, sure, how else could you explain brainwashed prisoners of war in Korea, right? That's gotta be the only explanation as to why they're acting that way. Nothing else to do with it. The program had subjects take LSD, hallucinogens, they had electric shock therapy at one point. Horrible stuff and all, and it was being done in universities, hospitals, and prisons. The happenings of this project weren't fully known to the public until years after it ended, but the agency destroyed most MK documents back in 1973 when it ended. So we think we know, when in reality, we probably know nothing, Jon Snow. Number 4, skin problems. This is a specific case that I had to share. A Russian lady found a small lump below her eye, her left eye to be specific, and at first she didn't think much of it, but eventually this lump was gone, which is a good sign, but then a new lump had appeared later on. This time it was on her lip. Odd. So when she went to go see a doctor about this lip problem, which is new and the eye problem's now gone, they removed a Dirofilaria repens, which is a thin worm, crawls around in the face. Hence why the bump was disappearing and then reappearing later on. It was moving around. I just got goosebumps talking about that. Now, normally this type of worm only affects animals, dogs, cats, foxes, anything like that. They spread through mosquito bites as well. So next time you're in the woods smacking your arms, I dare you to not think of this. Good game. Number 3, particle accelerator. This list is full of unsettling things. I mean, I hope. I think they're pretty batshit insane. But this next one actually concerns me about our future. I don't mess with science. The at-home volcano trick where you like put in the vinegar and it goes poof, I don't do that. That's even scary for me. What if one experiment could hypothetically swallow our known universe? Would we do it? Sure, sounds fun. Why not? What have we got to lose at this point? Sir Martin Rees, Britain's royal astronomer, shines some light on a dark possibility in his book titled On the Future. The particle accelerator is this massive machine that does exactly that. It smashes these charged particles together at a high speed, all in the name of science. We're trying to further understand condensed matter physics, and while it sure sounds impressive, what if it goes south? What would happen? Well, it could destroy the world, apparently. These particles smashing together could create this strange matter that shrinks Earth down to 300 feet in diameter. Or it creates a black hole, one of the two. A black hole would just suck away all of our existence, or we'd be little tiny people. Thanks, Martin. Now I won't be able to sleep because I'm thinking of particle colliders and Freddy Krueger. Both are equally as haunting. Number 2, no more insects. This one I wish I didn't know. Ignorance is bliss, folks. But we're kind of doomed. No easy way to say it. And so is the bug spray industry, apparently. The world is losing insects, which if you're a little kid or if you're me, sounds like a good thing at first. I don't like bugs. Any bugs. But when scientists tell us that the world has 70% less bugs than it did back in just the 80s, well, that's pretty concerning. Unsettling things scientists don't want us to see. I mean, this one they probably don't mind us taking a peek into. But we don't talk about this nearly enough. These buggy dudes are vital for our crops. The movie Interstellar, for example, is about our future and future humans running out of crops. So we should have been listening to Christopher Nolan this entire time. I knew it. Go watch Dark Knight, there's probably some clues in there somewhere. We're too focused on robots gaining the ability to do parkour that we're forgetting the sad science as well. And finally, coming in at number 1, mad cow disease. While we've got our hands full of this COVID madness, let me just add another one there to top you up. I stumbled across this Reddit thread here. It was titled, Scientists of Reddit, what are some scary scientific discoveries that most of the public is unaware of? Yeah, I read through a bunch of them, pretty scary, but I found this gem and had to finish the list off. One reply got lots of feedback, tons of support as well, and there's a great deal of people who just may be carrying around mad cow disease. But we won't know for another decade, give or take. So, sit tight. Stay tuned, I guess. Mad cow disease from the 80s and 90s was due to cows being fed the remains of other animals. Pretty horrible stuff. People then ate their beef and consumed prions, a protein that can destroy the human brain, and it's thought that many people still might carry prions but won't know until they start experiencing the symptoms, which could be 10 to 50 years after consuming said contaminated meat. It has a really long incubation period, and you can also contract the prions from blood transfusions, which is the reason why so many UK citizens from that time period still aren't allowed to donate blood. Fun fact, this is a very real thing. And to answer your question, no, there is no cure, and it can kill you in just a few months. How's that for unsettling? Guys, I've been
Starting off this countdown, we have the alien signal. Back in 2016, we received a signal from a nearby star, and some people believe that it was sent by aliens. So the star is in the constellation Hercules. It's about 95 light years away, which seems far, because it is, but it's relatively close according to the universe's scale. Anyways, this star is said to have at least one planet, and it's roughly the size of Neptune, and it's thought to have the right conditions to support life. So could this planet have life on it? Who knows? But let's talk about this signal. It was so strong that they believed it came from a Kardashev Type 2 civilization. A Type 1 civilization can use and store energy from a nearby star like us, whereas Type 2 can harness the energy from the entire star, meaning it makes that planet more advanced. So it may just be that the signal was sent from extremely advanced life forms. Moving on to number 9, we have the wow signal. And if you guys are liking this video so far, then smash that like button because it really helps us out. Also, don't know what that was, but hit the like button for me, thanks. On the night of August 15th, 1977, an Ohio State University radio telescope received a quite fascinating signal. The signal lasted 72 seconds and it was intense. More intense than anything in the sky that night. Now the signal did not repeat, and over the years people have tried to find it again, but all attempts have failed. It was like a one-off. The signal is said to have come from deep space, in an area that is relatively free of noise from other objects. Now, it was given the name the wow signal because when reviewing the data, Jerry Amen was so shocked by it that he wrote wow next to it. Still to this day, we have no clue what caused the signal, but it was pretty significant. Wow, Owen Wilson, wow. Moving on to number 8, we have the Soyuz 11. On June 6, 1971, 3 Soviet cosmonauts launched into space. Their goal was to make a record for the longest time spent in space. Sadly, the mission failed and they became the first people to die in space. While in space, their breathing ventilation valve ruptured. All 3 sadly died from decompression. The last message they sent to Earth was them trying to scream for help, but they couldn't, so all they heard was them gasping for air and then weird popping sounds, which is from the air in their lungs expanding from the drop in air pressure and being exposed to the vacuum of space. The worst part? The spacecraft survived re-entry into Earth and landed perfectly, but when the hatch was open, they found the dead crew inside, their faces filled with dark blue splotches and blood dripping from their ears and noses. Moving on to number 7, we have the 13 signals. Back in 2019, the Chime Observatory in British Columbia, Canada picked up a very strange signal. They observed 13 of the same signals. These are what they call FRBs, or fast radio bursts. You're probably like, psh, okay, what's the big deal? Well, all of the 13 bursts came from the same location and they were 1.5 billion light years from Earth. And detecting that is super uncommon. It's only been seen once before. So 13 at the same location and time, that's suspicious. A number of people think that it was someone or something signaling for help. Could it be life on another planet? Aliens? Who knows? In our 6th spot today, we have the pattern. This next signal is pretty terrifying, and that's because it appears like clockwork. So basically, the signal will chime for 4 days, then after the 4th day, it stops making that weird noise. It stops for 12 days before picking up again and doing the same thing over and over again. It's thought that maybe on the days where it's not sending a signal towards us, it's actually sending a signal in another direction. Some believe that this is coming from aliens or other life forms, whereas others think that it's a star sending out radio waves and then orbiting by something that could be blocking the signal for 12 days and then returning to a position where we can hear it. It's just incredibly mysterious and we don't know what to make of it. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the mysterious flashes, another very strange and mysterious signal that we have yet to figure out. So astronomers have detected a signal that will beam to Earth for 90 days before being silent for 67 days. They noticed that this pattern would repeat every 157 days. Its cycle is that precise. The signal is being sent from a distant galaxy and this pattern has been happening since 2016. Furthermore, the signal is quite strong. It unleashes as much energy as our sun does in a century in just a few milliseconds. Like, what the actual hell is going on? Theory goes that aliens have created a powerful machine that has the capability of sending out this strong signal, but then it needs 157 days to recharge itself before continuing on. But who knows? In our fourth spot today we have the eerie sounds. This is quite possibly one of the creepiest things I have ever heard. So NASA decided to gather all of the creepy sounds that they have ever heard and put it all together on SoundCloud for us to enjoy. It literally sounds like aliens communicating with each other or something like that. NASA refers to these sounds as moans and whistles from the universe. Isn't that just great? Moving on to number 3, we have the pulse of radio waves. Just recently on April 28, 2020, 2 telescopes detected an intense pulse of radio waves. Now the signal only lasted for a millisecond, but astronomers were blown away by this and said it's a major discovery. Why? Well, this is the first time a fast radio burst has ever been detected so close to Earth. The signal came from the Milky Way. In fact, Chime wasn't even looking for it, but it was so loud and clear that they caught it anyways. They said that this burst is helping them discover what these things are and where they're coming from. Maybe we'll find out if there's aliens out there sooner than we thought. Moving on to number 2, we have the lost cosmonaut. A lot of people refer to this next story as an urban legend, but with the facts I'm about to provide you with, it might just change your mind. So legend goes that back in the 1950s to 60s, 2 brothers were working as amateur radio operators. One day they were listening in on space when they heard what sounded like a cosmonaut returning to Earth's orbit. They managed to record her final moments. Her spacecraft was malfunctioning, and in the recording the woman speaking in Russian is pleading for help, saying it's getting hot, because the craft was burning up. Turns out that her spacecraft caught on fire and she was frantically sending messages hoping someone would hear it and somehow help her. But the Soviet Union just sent her up there and left her to die. Now the Soviets denied this, saying that it was an unmanned craft that burned. But the thing is, a lot of cosmonauts died during the space race, and they refused to reveal a number of those deaths. Half the time they would just cover them up. So this recording could be real. And in our number 1 spot today we have the final words. In 1967, Soviet test pilot, aerospace engineer, and cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov was sent into space on the Soyuz 1. However, the mission did not go according to plan and the spacecraft was extremely faulty. But Vladimir didn't really have a say in going on this mission. He kind of felt forced to do so. He said that if he didn't go, then the backup pilot would have had to go, which was his best friend, and he said he didn't want to do that to his friend, so he went and sacrificed his life instead. He knew the mission was going to fail, and he was right. Once he began to orbit Earth, a number of issues began to happen, such as the antennas not opening up properly. The worst came to him on his re-entry into Earth. On April 24th, 1967, during his re-entry, the parachutes failed to open. The signals he sent to Earth were haunting. On his way down, translators heard him say heat was rising in the capsule. He then began to curse the people who put him inside of this botched spaceship, saying they killed him. His final moments were him cursing and crying in rage. Imagine hearing that and listening to a man's final words. It's very haunting.